Moving to Phoenix? Well, it's not for everyone, especially if you cannot handle these 10 things we're gonna cover on this video today that you have to know if you're gonna move or live in Phoenix. And what I found is the number one mistake that people make when they're looking to move to Phoenix is they don't take all the factors into consideration when actually looking to move here. They take one or two, some of the really positive things that they hear on some people's YouTube videos that really they are avoiding the negative things. And guys, there are cons with every city that you are going to have to deal with if you move there. And so it's not all fuzzy cats and rainbows. You're gonna have some things that you need to deal with and be okay with if you're gonna live in Phoenix. And if you can't handle these 10 things, well, then maybe moving to Phoenix just isn't right for you. Now, the number one thing we're gonna address on this video right now is something that, well, most people just will avoid altogether. In fact, I don't talk about it much on this channel as well, but it's gonna be politics. Now, before you shoot the messenger, please don't do that, because guess what? Being in Arizona today, I don't have to take a hard line one way or the other, because Arizona is really a purple state. We're not red, we're not blue. We actually right now are pretty much right in the middle. So if you're on this side or that side, coming to Arizona, there's gonna be a place for you to fit in with however you see the world, your world values. Now, traditionally speaking, Arizona's been a red state. That's the conservative side, a Republican side, if you will. It's been that way for quite some time, the majority of the time when it comes to especially presidential elections. And it stayed that way in 2024, but recently in 2020, it went blue for the presidential election for the first time in quite some time. And if you look at 2024, even this year, what's interesting is the state went red for the president, but it went blue for both Senate seats. But for the last 44 years, if you look at the presidential election, the state actually voted red with 2 times going to the blue side. But again, as you look at the graphs on the screen right now, you can see that there's a lot of blue and red when it comes to the House of Representatives and the governor's side of things. So overall, Phoenix just ends up being a pretty mixed state, but traditionally it has leaned to the conservative side. So what does that mean for you as someone looking to live in Phoenix? Well, depends what side of the coin you're on. But I can tell you right now, in Arizona and Phoenix, people, they love their guns. That's right. It is a very gun-friendly state. Many people will carry a gun at all times, whether concealed or non-concealed. And in Arizona, it's just really a way of life. People like their space. When you get to the edge of town, like the suburbs around Phoenix, like let's say Buckeye and Surprise on the west side, you got Anthem to the north, you have Scottsdale, Cave Creek, and Fountain Hills to the northeast, and of course you have Queen Creek and Mesa down in the East Valley. And the further you get out on the outskirts, the more people like their space, their ranches, their pickup trucks, and yeah, their guns. So hopefully with this conversation, we can all be big boys and big girls, and we're not offended by any of it, because the reality is there's something for everybody truly living in the Phoenix area because of the purple color that currently our state represents. So now if you thought politics was a hot topic, well, the next thing is gonna be even hotter, and that is not the weather just yet, but insurance. That's right, guys. Insurance is exploding in terms of cost all across the Arizona area, and in Phoenix, it's no different. So let's jump right to it and let me give you a few numbers. Right now in the Phoenix, Arizona area, car insurance comes in 6% higher than the national average. And for full coverage, you're looking at $2,519 a year for your car insurance. Now, overall, when it comes to house insurance, well, that's going to depend on your median price point in your area at the end of the day. But for Phoenix right now, the average home premiums coming in at right around $2,300 a year. Now, it depends on what deductible you want and so on and so forth. So that's just a general number. So I can't give you a whole lot of specifics in comparison to the rest of the country, but that number is a very general number. At least gives you a point of reference and a place to start. Oh, and by the way, that's about $50 less than the national average. Now, insurance is a tough one because it's a pooled risk. Now, Arizona is one of the states that has very few natural disasters. About the most we're ever going to see is flash flooding, which comes from monsoons that really only happen in the month of August and maybe sometimes in July. And a lot of times we'll get monsoons and we won't even get rain. But they still call it a monsoon and monsoon season, because if we do, it will dump rain quickly, hard, fast and furious, and our soil just doesn't soak up the water that fast because, hey, we're in the desert. And so we're looking at our roads being affected by all this rain coming down, running across the roads, and sometimes sweeping away trucks and vehicles and cars. And if you're in one of those cars or in the area, you want to get away to a higher ground immediately, because people always underestimate the power of that running water, and it is nothing to shake a stick at. Trust me, it can be dangerous. So even though Arizona doesn't have a whole lot of natural disasters, we still have the cost of insurance going up because of states like Florida, Texas, and California primarily. But wait, Kelly, I thought we had forest fires in Arizona. We do at times, but those forest fires, luckily, are typically in places that are just not populated very much. And so by the time they get to around areas that have some population, they usually are put out. At least that's what's happened in the past. And so having that fire insurance is not a big deal. And if you have to get it, it can be expensive for certain areas on the outskirts of the Phoenix Valley area. So at the end of the day, insurance is going to be a higher cost, one that you should be prepared to pay for. So a quick example, I own a rental house that's worth about $350,000. And right now that insurance premium just jumped up to about $1,400 for the year. Now it's a property that's only worth $350 and a deductible of $1,000 for the calendar year. So that gives you a good idea, but the median price point in Phoenix is higher than that. It's around $450, and so that's where you get that number that's gonna be higher than $1,400 or $1,500. And of course, it depends on the carrier you go with as well. Some carriers are going to be less than others. And so you want to shop out your insurance. That's extremely important when you're in the Phoenix area. You don't want to go with a company that's captive where they're only going to give you one quote unless you want to call all the different captive companies. I'd rather go with an insurance agency that's going to be a broker and be able to tell you multiple different platforms and carriers that will cover your property, whether it be house, automobile, boat, you name it. That's what I would do as advice when moving to the Phoenix area. By the way, if you don't mind supporting our YouTube channel, I'd be forever grateful. If you don't mind just hitting that like button or smashing the subscribe button, thank you so much for doing that. That'll help us get out to more and more people. And by the way, if you want to call and chat with us about anything real estate related, including off-market properties and our property list that's specific for our clients, give us a call, 480-660-5974. Number 3 on this list, well, we're talking taxes. That's right, taxes are gonna be hard to avoid no matter where you go in the country, but in Phoenix and the Arizona area, we are ranked actually 15th overall out of all 50 states for the best tax state when it comes to everything from corporate taxes to property taxes to sales tax, unemployment insurance tax, and the list goes on. In fact, we have some information to put on the screen here for you to look at to see the rankings for all those different things. So if you look here, you can see corporate taxes are actually ranked 13th. Arizona has a very corporate friendly state, and that's why our local economy is booming. More to come on that a little bit later. So being ranked 13th is phenomenal for long-term growth and probably some good job opportunities. Individual income taxes, they rank number 8 because again, at the end of the day, we have a 2.5 flat tax rate for the state, which is awesome. In fact, it's the lowest tax rate for all the states that charge actually state income tax. There are states that obviously have 0%, which is the best percent, I guess, but a lot of times they'll get you on the back end with property taxes and things of that nature, whereas Arizona ranks pretty low for all tax categories. You can see in property taxes, we're the 13th ranked state in the country, which is really good. And when it comes to unemployment insurance taxes, listen up, business owners, it ranks 2nd as the lowest rate for that in the entire country. And again, very friendly for companies and business owners in this state. And sales tax will be ranked 45th on that one, which is not too good, coming in overall at about 8.6% on sales tax. Overall, we are great in a phenomenal tax environment to operate in, whether you own a business or you're just a person living in the Phoenix area and you have a job, whatever it may be, this is a great state to live for that. Next, we're gonna shift over to the local economy. That's very important. It kind of goes with taxes to an extent, but it's a perfect segue to the local economy, and the Arizona local economy is on fire. It is ranked 6th in all the entire country when it comes to growth outlook for the near and midterm future. So it is a great place to come if you're going to take that gamble, that bet on yourself to get a high paying job, a good paying job, or to start a business here in the Phoenix area. But wait, there's more. Arizona also ranked 2nd in the entire country for economic performance overall. So if you're looking for that good job opportunity, that good place to start a business, I can't say enough. I think I've said it like 2 or 3 times already, and I'll keep saying it because the future is bright in Arizona for the local economy. If you say Arizona is ranked 6th, well, who are the top 5? I'll tell you. Utah comes in number 1, Tennessee number 2, Indiana 3, North Carolina 4, North Dakota 5, and Arizona 6. So at the end of the day, there's only one state out of those top 6 that has a lot of sunshine and 2 seasons. One season, it's hot, I get it, but the other season, pure awesomeness. That's what it's called here in Phoenix, and that's what you get to experiment when you come take a bet on the local economy for your future. Number 5, well, we're gonna pivot over to basements. I bet you didn't see that one coming, but Arizona does not have basements primarily throughout the Phoenix area. We're talking Phoenix right now because that's the area that we serve, that's the area that we love. And if you want a basement, well, there are some homes in some neighborhoods that actually have basements, but most homes in the Phoenix area will not have a basement. So extra storage, well, it needs to go up in your attic, or a lot of people have hanging shelves in their garage, and they get creative when it comes to garage cabinets as well to put a lot of that storage, the holiday stuff that no one has room for. Yeah, that can't go in the basement anymore because you don't have it. It has to go in storage. Now, people ask me all the time, why are basements not in Arizona? Well, this reason is primarily because Arizona sits right at the frost line. See, a lot of builders in the Midwest, East Coast, other places in America, they have basements primarily because they sit actually above the frost line when it comes to their soil and their ground level. So you have to dig below it to actually construct that home, have a good solid foundation. But in Arizona, we're already sitting at the frost line, so we can build slab on grade, meaning a concrete slab for the pad, the foundation of your home. And so a lot of builders will go that route because, frankly, to do the basement, it's actually pretty expensive. And they don't want to add that additional cost because they feel there may not be the ROI, the return on investment, to do so in Arizona. But the key with Phoenix, well, there are expansive soils in Phoenix. And so it's very important when you build, for most places, not all, but most places in the Phoenix area, to use a post-tension slab when you are going to build. But again, it's very, very important to do that in those expansive soil areas because of contraction and expansion across the board with those soil areas. The next thing is going to be that Phoenix, well, it's spread out. The running joke is that everything's 20 minutes away. Now, most amenities and conveniences for everyday life are close by, but it's still spread out in general. Everyone's going to have a car. You need to have a car if you're living in Phoenix. There are some exceptions. We do have the light rail, which is the public transportation train that a lot of big cities do have, but it only goes up central Phoenix area, down to downtown, over to Tempe, and out to a small part of Mesa. So if you're not on that line or in those areas, then you're going to need a car. Now, Uber and Lyft, they're big down in Phoenix, but the most recent one that's making waves is Waymo. The driverless cars. It's crazy. They're everywhere. And the fare when you hire a Waymo is actually a little bit less than Uber and Lyft, which Uber and Lyft are actually pretty cost effective in and of themselves. But I've never taken a Waymo because, frankly, I'm a little scared. I really take the guy who maybe only had about 2 hours of sleep that's hyped up on caffeine than someone who's not driving the car at all. It's a little weird to me, but a lot of people do it, and Waymo is everywhere in the Phoenix area, and you're probably going to see more of that happening in the future because Robotaxi was just launched by Tesla in Austin, Texas this week. So that's probably going to come soon to the Phoenix area, considering Waymo is already big here and the whole grid, the whole city is mapped out. So again, back to being spread out in Phoenix. Well, if you live in the Southeast Valley, let's say down in Queen Creek or Santan Valley, and you want to go over to Surprise, that's a long drive. You're talking an hour 15, hour 30 minutes with traffic one way, and you're in the city the entire time. It's very spread out. Now, the good news is with the spread out, we do have a good transportation system. We have a lot of interstates. You can see we have a looped system with the 202, the 101, and the 303. We also have major interstates, the I-17, I-10, the 60, State Route 51, and other things running through the Phoenix area to really get traffic around pretty good. In fact, I would bet that Phoenix is going to be in the top 5 for traffic flow for the major cities across America. It's not that bad, especially in the summertime when all the snowbirds go back up north. You can get around really quick and easy in the Phoenix area. But again, it's still going to take you some time because, like I said, it's spread out. Electric cars, they're huge in Phoenix because of that particular factor. And again, most cars can charge to a level of a battery that can get you from one end of the valley to the next and back home, no problem. So it works really well and it gets you around town. And the best thing is you don't ever have to go to gas stations if you have an electric car. So Teslas and all the electrical vehicles, the Rivians, they're very popular in the Phoenix area. So maybe that's something you want to consider if you're in the Phoenix area. But again, plenty of 4x4 pickups rolling around town too. So don't let it discourage you if that's what you want to drive. So overall, as long as you plan well to get to where your destination is going to be, and again, because everything's so compact and convenient in the little suburbs, little areas throughout the Phoenix area, you don't have to drive a very far ways if you really don't want to, because most of what you can get to is within reach within 20 minutes. Did I say that earlier? So again, if driving a long ways, being spread out across an entire valley, a big metroplex is not what you're looking for, well, Phoenix probably is not going to be the place for you. The next thing you must know about is the wildlife here in the desert. This wildlife, they don't play. This wildlife is different than other wildlife throughout most parts of the country. In the desert, we have some different things and they sometimes sting. So if you are petrified of certain things like reptiles, you may want to stay out of the Phoenix area. But don't worry, there's plenty of places where you don't see hardly any of these things. So what are those things we're talking about? Well, let's talk about the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, that's our baseball team, but that's also a snake that we have here in the desert. The diamondback is a poisonous rattlesnake, and in my 21 years living here, I've only seen it twice. And that was early on. I haven't seen one in over a decade now at this point, knock on wood, but they are out there. There's just certain areas that they're more prevalent to be in. For example, if you're hiking in the summertime, they're more prevalent to probably be out there. Now, usually they stay off the path because they kind of know where hikers are gonna be, but it's good to have a stick and just be aware of that. If you're golfing and you hit a bad shot into the desert, which I'm sure most of you never do, be aware when you're searching for that ball because you don't want to lose that Pro V1. There could be a rattlesnake out there. But again, when you get close enough, the good news is they give you a warning shot and they'll start rattling their tail. So you'll hear them typically first before you'll see them. Most of the time. And if I haven't scared you enough, well, we have scorpions also. Now, I'm not a medical expert, but scorpions sting can kill you. That is a possibility, but most of the time it will not. Most of the time, if you do get stung, you can wear it off with your own body's immune system. But again, this is not medical advice, so please consult your doctor if that happens. But scorpions are something that you need to be aware of if you're going to move to Phoenix. And what's interesting about scorpions is they could be in one house right next door to you and basically infest the entire house. And right next door in this house, there won't be a single scorpion. It's very interesting how that works. But there's certain things that you should do just to make sure you are not going to have a problem with scorpions. Number one, kill their food source. They are a lot more harder to kill just outright with poison, etc. It's a lot easier if you just simply kill their food source, because if you do that, they a lot of times will leave. Now, I don't know all the things they eat, but I can tell you the number one food source is going to be crickets. So the minute you hear chirping of crickets, I would highly recommend to call your pest control company and have them come out and spray immediately. It's always best to have a routine for having your house treated by a pest control company. I recommend at least once every 2 months, but some people will go once a month, which is totally fine as well. Another thing you can do is ensure your house is sealed. See, construction of homes in Arizona is you have a stem wall, that concrete pad that your house sits on, the foundation. Then above that, you have a weep screen, it's called, that comes out a little bit, and then your stucco wall goes vertical. Well, in that little area that sticks out over your concrete, it is best to have somebody come out and seal with caulk or what have you all the way around the bottom part in there around your foundation, because scorpions can get flat and they can get into really tiny spaces if you don't do a good job of sealing your house. So that's something that is well worth the money to do for peace of mind. And one more thing I want to talk about is having trees overhanging onto your roof. It's best to have your trees cut way back from your roof, because scorpions do climb up trees, and if they get on a branch, they're very light. They can be on a very small branch overhanging your roof. And if they fall on your roof, well, they can get skinny and get into these little crevices on the roof tiles and potentially down into your roof and inside your house. So again, these are things people won't tell you, but it's something you have to be aware of in Phoenix. Now again, we've been in our current house for well over a decade, and we've never seen not one scorpion in our house in well over a decade. And there's plenty of people like that, because that's just how scorpions are. They are not every single where you go in every single house. But we did have a house when I first moved to Phoenix that I saw 3 scorpions over the course of about 5 years living there. So again, that's not that many, but it's 3 that I wish I never would see at all, to be honest with you. But if you see them, you just kill them and get rid of them immediately, and again, get rid of their food source. Now, if that's not enough, let's go in a different direction and talk about bigger wildlife in the Phoenix area. You have javelina. These are wild pigs that actually roam freely throughout the Phoenix area. They like to travel up and down washes, desert washes throughout neighborhoods primarily, but they will come out into your front yard from time to time. The best thing to do with javelina is they typically travel in packs, so they have these little tusks and they could be nasty if you attack them or they feel threatened. So the best thing to do is just to keep your distance, and as long as you don't make any sudden movements at them, they typically will stop, stare at you, and they will keep their distance as well. But I can tell you from personal experience, I had a run-in with a javelina one time, and it was the craziest thing I've ever experienced. If you want to hear more about that story, maybe I'll share it on social media, on Instagram or something one time, or you can just call me 480-660-5973, and I'd be happy to tell you a story, because honestly, it's a good one. But I survived, and I'm here to tell a story about it. So again, javelinas are wild pigs roaming the area of Phoenix, and the number one food source they love, outside of bulbs of roots of plants, are pumpkins. So if you have javelina around your area, you probably don't want to leave your pumpkin out on the ground around Halloween time. Yeah, I found out the hard way on that one. And to cover just a few more larger animals, wildlife, you have coyotes and bobcats. They say bobcats are pound for pound one of the toughest animals in the animal kingdom, and we do have those here inside the Phoenix area. They look like house cats, but a little bit bigger, and they have a nub little tail at the end, so you know if that's a bobcat. They are extremely athletic. They can jump onto block wall fences and get to pretty much anywhere they want to go, but again, they like to keep a low profile, and you won't see too much of them, and they won't bother you if they don't feel threatened. And what I mentioned were coyotes. Coyotes actually travel in packs for the most part. You'll see a lone coyote here and there, and again, they won't bother you for the most part if you don't bother them. But the one thing you gotta be careful about is if you have a small dog, we're talking like a Chihuahua or a Min Pin, something like that, you don't wanna let them loose in your backyard and just let them run around for a while. You wanna keep close eye on them and ideally on a leash, but if you're out in the backyard with them, that will be sufficient for the most part. But you don't wanna just let them out in the backyard because coyotes, well, they can jump onto the top of a 6-foot block wall and pull themselves up to the top and into your backyard. Again, they won't do that very often, but if they know there's a food source of a small dog in your backyard, it is true that they will get back there and they will try to catch your dog as its next meal. And a lot of times when that happens, they will then take the dog in their mouth outside of the backyard into a wash or someplace where they like to go, and that becomes their meal. So you definitely don't want to leave your small dog out in your backyard unattended for long periods of time. Okay, now hopefully you're not too freaked out by the wildlife thing. I may have made it sound a little worse than it really is. There's 5 million people living in the Phoenix area, and they're here and more are coming every single year. And so they can put up with that wildlife. The wildlife can put up with you, and most likely you'll be just fine. Okay, next thing we have to talk about, because we live in the desert, it has to be the weather. You need to know what the weather is like. Now, I joke around all the time that there are 2 seasons in Phoenix. Most places have 4, we have 2. We have hot, which is about 4 months out of the year, but the other 8 months, that season, well, it's called pure awesomeness. That's right, I rebranded that because that's really what it is. It rarely rains. We have over 300 days of sunshine in Phoenix, so it is amazing, of course, if you like the sun. Now, if you don't like the heat, you gotta get out of the kitchen. It may not be the best place for you to live full time, or there's workarounds. See, what people don't realize is in the state of Arizona, you can go from Phoenix to the high country in the northern area of the state, i.e. Flagstaff, Arizona, or Sedona, but Flagstaff has the highest elevation, so it's the largest differential or delta of the temperature from the Phoenix Valley. So for example, it's usually anywhere from 20 to 30 degrees cooler in the summertime. So if it's 110 in the valley, you're looking at about 80 degrees potentially in Flagstaff. It's like being in Colorado to an extent. You're talking 7,000 feet or higher in elevation up there, and there's plenty to do on top of that. But this video isn't about Flagstaff and how great that place is. It's about the ability to stand the heat. Now, I can tell you right now, because of the lack of humidity in the desert, it is awesome. I personally would take 110 and very little humidity over 88 and high humidity any day of the week. In most places across America in the summertime, yeah, it's pretty hot and humid, and you just don't have that here in the Phoenix area. Oh, and natural disasters? Yeah, we don't have hardly any of those as well. We get a lot of people coming from Florida, California, Texas to get away from those natural disasters of tornadoes and mudslides and fires and hurricanes, because Phoenix is a safe haven for the lack of natural disasters. But we do have 2 things that happen every once in a while, and those are monsoons that happen typically in July and August, where rain comes down really hard and can potentially cause flash flooding in some places because the ground just cannot soak up the amount of rain that drops all at one time, as it's not fertile soil like other places across the country. And the second thing is going to be wildfires. Now, the good news is these wildfires in Arizona, they just don't happen in populated areas for the most part. They're going to be out in the remote areas and the fire service is really good around here to be able to put out most fires before they get too out of control and too close to populated areas. So that is a very good thing. But you want to know one con? Well, that's going to be the lack of fireworks that you can shoot off July 4th. That's right. Unfortunately, there are fireworks shows throughout the Phoenix area that are done by professional companies and people, but the average person, yep, we're not allowed to shoot anything that's like really cool and dangerous off on July 4th. We have to stick with the little starter kit of fireworks in Phoenix. You know, the things that only go about this high off the ground, you know, the Roman candles, that kind of stuff. That's about all we can do in Phoenix because of the heat and the dryness. The city officials don't want people lining off fireworks everywhere and obviously starting fires from any natural vegetation that is dry. So if you're a big pyromaniac, well, you can still live in Phoenix. You just have to leave during July 4th and go somewhere else where you can just shoot off fireworks to your heart's content. But I want to say one more thing about the weather. Even in the season of hot, and it's hot, you can still do pretty much most of everything that you still want to do for your active lifestyle, like golf in the morning, hiking, biking in the morning, and even at night when the sun goes down and it's still 95 degrees on the thermometer, it feels actually very pleasant. It's hard to describe, but if you come and hang out with me in that 95-degree weather in the summertime like this, when the sun's not on you and you're in the shade, I guarantee you'll believe me. The next thing is going to be sports and sporting in general. The culture within Phoenix is very much so in favor of sports. We have 3 main professional sports teams. We had a 4th, Arizona Coyotes, hockey, but unfortunately the owner sold and they took off to Salt Lake City, so we don't have NHL professional hockey right now at its current time. But the good news is the Coyotes have retained their rights of their name, and so hopefully they say in about 4 to 5 years, the Arizona Coyotes might be an organization with the NHL once again. Fingers crossed. But the other 3 major teams are going to be the Arizona Cardinals for the NFL, the Phoenix Suns located in downtown Phoenix for the NBA, and the Arizona Diamondbacks in the downtown Phoenix area as well for the MLB. Now we do have other professional sports as well. We do have the Phoenix Rising, which is like the minor professional leagues for soccer. We have the Arizona Sting for the minor professionals for lacrosse. We have the WNBA, which is the women's professional league. We have the Phoenix Mercury for that. And then we have the Arizona Rattlers, which is semi-pro indoor football as well. So we have a lot going on for sports in the Phoenix area. And a lot of times our sports teams are really good. But here's the main difference about the sporting scene in Phoenix. You know how most cities, the people of that city actually want to see their team win all the games and even a championship? Well, in Phoenix, it's a little fair weather and the fans can be a little transient. That's right, because Phoenix has so many people that actually live here from other states across America, sometimes you get a good amount of the stadium that is actually wearing the other team's jersey. So if you're not used to that kind of a hometown team situation, then Phoenix might not be the right sporting town for you. I'll give you an example. When I first moved here in 2004, the Arizona Cardinals NFL team played in the Arizona State Sun Devils Stadium outside. That's right, that is a professional team playing in a college stadium because they didn't have a stadium of their own because the Cardinals, well, they weren't that good. And on top of it, it was outside. And you know what time NFL games are? NFL games are in the middle of the afternoon, which is the hottest time of the day in Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah, in early September when it's well over 100 degrees. So I kind of feel bad for those players. Kinda, I mean, they're getting paid a lot of money, but it's not the most fun thing to do. Well, how do the college kids survive then? Well, the college kids survive playing football because a lot of those games are scheduled at nighttime, like we said, when the sun is down and you have a lot of shade. But the NFL has their way, or the highway, and their TV time. And their games are only in the afternoon times, unless of course you have a Sunday night or Monday night or Thursday night game time, which is very rare when you're not a very good team like the Cardinals were at that point in time. But since then, the Cardinals have made huge strides. They have their own stadium that is incredibly nice. They call it the Big Toaster Oven because it is such a big spaceship-looking stadium that has a retractable roof, and it's closed, obviously, most of the time when it's the hotter time of the year. But when it's nice out and that season of pure awesomeness begins, you can open up the roof and it is glorious. And I will say more and more people are becoming fans of the Phoenix sports teams because there are more and more people who are becoming natives of Phoenix. People being born here that are not leaving because of everything that Phoenix has to offer for opportunity and lifestyle. Whereas before, Phoenix wasn't as big and people came here to move because they got sick and tired of the weather other parts of the country and just put up with the heat the rest of the year. So let's keep cheering on the Phoenix sports teams and making the home base of fans stronger and stronger going into the future. Now, the last thing on my list you need to know about is the downtown area of Phoenix. And that's not necessarily because it's the best setup that there is. See, Phoenix is so spread out that there are really three main nucleuses of entertainment and synergy throughout the entire Phoenix greater area. You have the downtown Phoenix area, you have the Old Town or downtown Scottsdale area, then you have the Westgate area out in Glendale. And those three areas are always kind of competing against each other for all the eyeballs and the dollars when it comes to people spending time for entertainment, hanging out, and lifestyle for those three areas. Whereas many big cities across America have one nucleus. It's the downtown area where everything is going on. All the sports teams, all the entertainment, all the concerts, and all the cool lifestyle and trending things to do are happening all in one main area primarily. And that's just not the case in Phoenix, unfortunately. Now, the downtown area is making a comeback, and it's actually starting to get more and more better. They're getting rid of a lot of the homeless issues and pushing those people out. They're having a lot of redevelopment of condos and people living there full time in the downtown area. And the cool thing is right now, if you want to buy a condo in the downtown area, it's actually one of the cheaper places to live for condos across the Phoenix area because they're trying to incentivize people to move to the downtown area. Now, there are a lot of projects happening right now in the Phoenix downtown area. A lot of high-rise condos for sale and for rent, different projects, different communities, trying to really create this vibe for people to come down to downtown Phoenix to hang out and live like many other major cities across America. So that is cool, but if you're not looking to live downtown, but you want a nucleus to always go down to hang out for everything, Phoenix is not gonna be the place for you. But if you're cool with only going down for the things that you want to go down there for, but traveling to other places across the city for your entertainment and your good shopping, dining, nightlife, then Phoenix will be okay because it's more spread out. Maybe that's better for you because, again, you don't have all these huge parking issues of this conglomeration of people always down in the downtown Phoenix area because it's not that busy. But if you want that really core nucleus vibe of a big city that most downtowns offer, Phoenix is not gonna be the best one for you for that. So hopefully this video was educational for you. These are things that people don't take into consideration and don't tell you on other YouTube channels, but we are gonna give you the truth, the bad, the good, and the ugly right here in this channel because every city has good things, but every city also has not so good things too, and we're gonna cover all of them right here. Don't ever change that dial. And if you'd like to call me, give me a buzz anytime at 480-660-5974 or book a time on our calendar link below when you get a moment. And if you want to know the 15 craziest things that no one will ever talk about in Phoenix that you need to know, then watch this video right here.